Hey Bat Family, welcome to our newest piece of off-week content. It's been a few weeks since we recorded this episode and I got sick in between then, so don't worry, I don't sound anywhere near as nasally in the recording as I do right now. As we mentioned in episode 8, we ended up pulling this content out to keep the episode length closer to what we try and achieve, which is about an hour per episode unless we have a guest on with us. Scott and I had a really fun time with this debate, and I don't think we convinced either person of our position being superior, but we would love to hear your take on it. Feel free to hit us up at boredallthetimegaming@gmail.com or head to our episode notes to find the link to our Discord server. With those logistics out of the way, enjoy our discussion of This or That, Calico versus Cascadia. For our rotating segment, we are actually choosing to do a new one because we are diametrically opposed in this.
Oh, very much so.
And one of the things that I have received as feedback is we can agree too often.
Yeah.
I think we are able to have a solid, constructive conversation and understand where the other person's coming from.
Yep.
But the amount of just like, hey, you're wrong, doesn't happen very often.
No. And this is where we lose our friendship. So I hope everyone that's listening, I hope you're happy.
So we wanted to talk about the Flatout Games trilogy. The problem is only I've played Verdant, and I don't think Verdant's very good. It's fine. It is by far the least of the three. But there's Calico and there is Cascadia. I'm going to let you lead off with Calico. It was the first in the series. It is your pick in this Calico versus Cascadia.
Yeah. The things I could say about Calico. This game, one, speaks directly to my brain. It is a tile laying game. There are 6 different colors. There are 6 different patterns. Those pattern and colors repeat several times within your draw bag. The idea is that you are making a quilt trying to attract cats. Why wouldn't you? And scoring points based on your point patches that are in the center of the board. It is a very simple A, B, B, B. You score, you can either have 3 of one color, 3 of a different color, 3 of one pattern, 3 of a different pattern, and you will score the base amount of points. If you are able to do both, you score more. You are also trying to group the colors together. 3 of the same color, you earn a button because you are sewing the buttons onto the quilt. That gives you bonus points. If you can score all 6 colors, then you get a rainbow button, which is also worth more points. Each game, you have 3 cats that are in the building where you're trying to make your quilt. Each cat has a different attraction condition, because if you sit there and you follow along with what they want, where sometimes it is a pattern or it is design, like it could be a straight line or it could be a little diamond or whatever, following the patterns, you've attracted the cat's attention and the cat is now going to lay on your quilt, because that's what cats do when you are trying to make anything. They have to lay in the middle of it, which is so true if you have cats. The solo mode, how it's different from the base game, is that you play your tile and then you draw one of the 3 tiles that's available for you, which is how it is with any base game. And then you get rid of the tile that is the farthest away from the bag and then replenish. It makes the game speed up a little bit, but you're still doing a blind draw to get your tiles out. I just enjoy the game. I enjoy the think space. It had been a little bit since I've done the solo game. I did a quick solo game. I've played Cascadia. I enjoy Cascadia. For me, Calico by far is the more superior game. Multiplayer and solo.
The Cascade Mountain Range is one of the most biodiverse and interesting geologic locations within the United States. There is a wide array of wildlife. There's a wide array of terrain within that mountain range. And Cascadia is you trying to build out a portion of the Cascade Mountain Range and attract the wildlife in certain patterns or certain groupings or whatever to try and have them score amongst their own individual conditions. There's a very large difference between Calico and Cascadia because one of the things you didn't mention is that Calico gives you a small player board.
Yeah, I meant to, and that's what I think I also like is because, like we talked about earlier, of how much space it takes.
Yes.
It doesn't take a ton of space.
It does not take a ton of space, but the game constrains itself as it moves forward to where you are going to start needing much more specific things as the game goes along. Cascadia is the inverse, where you are going to have your board and your play space grow and give you more options. And so if you are shorted because of something not coming out, it's going to be more harmful because it's something that you laid out, you chose to be there versus what was available. Because unlike Calico, you have 5 terrains and 5 animals, and I think that narrowing is better for me.
Okay.
But each animal, like Calico, has its own particular scoring conditions. But unlike just being, hey, I'm going to put an extra cat out, that is the actual main functional scoring of the game. So you are trying to get large groups of contiguous terrain, and you are also trying to get specific grouping and variations, and more often than not, multiple groupings of something within. You have a still set limited amount of time, and on each tile that you pull, it is generally 2 different terrain types, and it will allow for 1 to 3 animal tokens to be placed on top of it. Now, it should be noted that the designer of Calico is Kevin Russ. The designer of Cascadia, Randy Flynn, was a playtester on Calico. He is part of the Flatout Games development group, so clearly Cascadia was influenced by Calico. The solo mode works essentially the same way as Calico, where you are going to have a line of 4 terrain tiles and a line of 4 animal tiles. You are going to pick one, you're going to toss the furthest left, you're going to slide them over, add new win. So you automatically have more options to draw from, and your game is expanding as you go. I have a number of issues around Calico that are not present with Cascadia. First of which is being the theme. I'm a dog person. I like the thematics of Cascadia more. I like the ever-expanding nature of it because you're still only going to have 18 turns. So you're not going to have a huge board space in front of you. I will say I have gotten to play with Cascadia's expansion, Landmarks. And Calico surprisingly doesn't have one outside of the promo cats that were a Kickstarter thing. Landmarks is fine. I think the new tiles and the new wildlife scoring cards are great, but the actual landmarks themselves are just a MacGuffin, and it makes this tight game that doesn't need a lot of space take an enormous amount of space now, because now you put out 5 extra decks and all kinds of extra stuff, and there's extra tokens. You can skip the expansion. The other thing that I like and I prefer about Cascadia to Calico is there is a ramping of difficulty within the scenarios in Cascadia that I feel like I am constantly forced to play differently, but everything feels achievable. The first scenario in Calico feels almost unachievable unless you have perfect luck.
I mean, I can see that. The solo mode for Cascadia was not designed by Randy Flynn. It was actually designed by Sean Stankiewicz.
Another person in the Flatout. And I believe he was actually involved in the Calico solo mode too. My other big negative on the game, I talked about earlier in this episode. I want to feel like I lost because decisions I made, that there was agency in my loss. What I don't like about Calico is the way the tiles come out and the way that the gold tokens are laid. They're all going to be sharing tiles with each other. Mm-hmm. And the one in the middle is going to share with both of the other ones. So you have to have a very specific set of tiles, especially if you're going for the doubling score for both of them to have both pattern and the color, which means you have to have the right tile come out. And if it doesn't come out, you're just sunk.
Okay, so with that argument, I connect those first and build off of them. Then I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I don't have to worry about trying to find one that connects to both of them. I eliminate that problem ultimately first, and then work my way around.
But if I need a blue striped tile because that's what I have open in that corner and the blue striped tile doesn't come up, then I'm out some amount of points, potentially all of them if I was hanging everything on.
You're filling in stuff around the patches. Oh, great. I've got stuff that won't work. Cool. I have open spaces. I can just throw it off to the edge and still be able to build points off of those because it still has a pattern. It still has a color. It's a risk and reward. I've played Cascadia enough times. I own the game. I don't play the game. I still play Calico. I don't find Cascadia nearly as intriguing because it holds no attention to me. I was a Boy Scout. I love going outdoors. I still like going outdoors. I still like looking at nature. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's way too random as to what's coming out when you're sitting there putting out your land tiles and what animals are going on top of it. I've had it where I've had all fish and nothing that I need to put fish on.
Well, then I don't know that you're playing the game right, because there's a rule that if 3 of something are out, it is up to you, but you can throw them all away. and redraw.
okay.
And if there's 4, then you just redraw.
Well-
So there's that, but you also have the pinecone tokens where I can actually play my token, and they're fairly easy to get because there's so many keystone tokens, where if you play the animal on its one single tile, now I'm allowed to split my pick. So I don't have to take the set pair there. So I can take the one that has an elk over here, and I can take the elk token on the far end. So there is a adjustment to that where I may not have those pinecone tokens, but at least the ability for me to get them, the ability to have that approach is there.
And I haven't had that luck with that game. I have had the worst luck and the worst scores on that game. I've walked away from Cascadia going, I own it, and I bought it because it was an AEG and Flatout game, and have not enjoyed my time.
My scores average in the 90s, if not higher. I really like Cascadia. It works the way my brain works, but it also works. We've talked about this before of you just have better luck than I do. And I feel like in Calico, the luck of the draw is significantly more weighted than in Cascadia. I just do.
But I still have to do the blind draws in Cascadia as well, so my luck should be just as good in Cascadia as it is in Calico. My scores in Calico, I had a 42, which doesn't do anything for the scenario, because the scenario...
58 and a rainbow token. It's ridiculous.
Which I admit, that's insane. Because getting rainbow tokens, I've only gotten rainbow tokens a couple times, but I don't really care.
If you get the rainbow
scenarios.
token, you're not getting the other points.
Correct. It means you're not trying to get your doubles. You're not trying to get the pattern and the colors. But I don't mind it as much. The game, honestly, it just fundamentally feels better to me. I've always had my scores within between 40s and 50s, which is consistent every game.
I think Cascadia has a cleaner setup where you're just going to pull a set number of tiles, put them on the table, put your bag of stuff there, get a thing, bang, you're done. You have your cards off to the side. Sorting all the cats just annoyed me to no end because I know you're giving me this look. For me, it was really obnoxious because if you saw the way I have them bagged, I have the cat and I have each of the cat tokens in a separate bag in with it because those tokens all look the same. It's really frustrating. That's just a me thing. I get that's a me thing.
That is totally a you thing because I'm like, that's exactly how my entire thing is set up. Okay, I did not have as many problems with that as you have.
Oh, it annoys me endlessly.
That also does not shock me because I know you.
That's fair.
So
I'm very particular with the way I store games.
Very much so. That was something that was very easily for me to go, okay, cool.
I will say, as a positive for Calico, it is very easy to sit there and solo in a small space.
Oh, yeah.
I was able to just pull out my lap desk. I had my board. I had the tiles next to it. And I just left everything in their bags. And I just pulled out of the bags as I needed for the cat tokens and stuff. I think as a compact experience, Calico is better because you just don't need as much table space. But I'm never going to pick it. And this is a criticism of both games. They are both deeply multiplayer solitaire.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of, hey, don't take the patch tile or don't take the combination of tiles that I want in Cascadia, doesn't matter. It's multiplayer solitaire.
I mean, it's the same thing in Calico because I could sit there and I can look at what you got on your quilt and be like, if I take this patch, this would fit perfectly onto your board, and I can just throw it over here in the corner to be an absolute jerk.
Yeah.
I don't play that way unless a person's being a jerk to me. You looked at my board and you went, oh, well, you need this one, and you did it. I'm going to do it right back because, okay, we'll play that way. I am petty. Oh, pooh, didn't we call me the petty princess like in a couple episodes ago? Or
I think so, yeah.
This opens up parts of my mind and how to build patterns and recognition that I just don't get out of Cascadia. I think Cascadia, for me, is almost a little too simple. Like, I love the pattern building. It's great for me. I like those parts of it. I just don't think it's as challenging as Calico is. And if I'm going to do a game where I'm building patterns, I want it to be hard.
See, I'm surprised that you're saying that because in Calico, the cats only have 3 patterns. That's it. And you can approach them off of either pattern tile that they want. Whereas in Cascadia, each animal type has a fairly distinct pattern that it needs to have, and trying to balance the needs of all those patterns together, to me, leads to a more complex tapestry because I have really scored a bunch of my elk, but I am really suffering in my fish. Do I pivot and go for the fish because I have that ability to on my tiles because of the tiles I've taken? Or do I think maybe I can get more points out of my foxes? I feel like there's more ways to pivot and there's more interesting combinations, especially because the cards themselves are so many options, and it's not just, I'm going to flip over this cat that needs either a group of 3 or it needs a diamond shape.
That's usually lines or, yeah.
I think Cascadia has the more complex scoring patterns and a deeper web of interactions because each one of them just has more to do. And then it has that modular flexibility that I like in a way that Calico doesn't, because I can play the full A set, I can play the B set, I can play a mixed set, I can, with the expansion, I can go all the way to G, I believe. And then I have the promo cards that give me the stars. So there's a lot of variability there that I just don't feel like Calico gives me.
And I think that's where we're going to have to disagree because, yeah, no, I played with all 10 types of cats. I just prefer this setup better than Cascadia. It sits in my wheelhouse.
So I think where it comes down to is if you don't like tiling, you're not going to like either game.
Correct.
If you don't like spatial puzzles, you're not going to like the game.
You're not going to like every game. And they both have a bit of luck.
They do. I will grant both have luck, both have randomness. I think where it comes down to is do you like your decision space to narrow as the game goes along, Calico, or do you like to expand out further, Cascadia?
Yeah, I think I would completely agree. The parts of the game, especially when you're looking at those fewer rounds where it's frustrating for you because you sat there and said that I didn't get this one thing I needed and that frustrated you. It revs me up. I'm like, oh, is it going to come out? And if it doesn't, okay, it doesn't bother me. I was reacquainting myself with it and I was like, oh, I need this, this, or this to make it perfect. But here's something that I'll at least get something out of it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, well, them's the breaks. I still scored on all 3 patches. I did one, got perfect. The other 2 were just the basic level.
I think one of the reasons it frustrates me is, A, it feels like I didn't get to win because of something outside of my control. And it's one thing if it's a decision that you have made and you have just beaten me, that's fine, I don't care about that. But if it is randomness that has done it out to me, frankly, it feels like I've wasted my time. Because if the game is not going to be, I don't want to say fair, that's the wrong term, but if the game just feels stacked against me, I don't care. And I feel like I've wasted my time at that point.
See, that's the thing is I don't feel like it's stacked against me. I guess maybe it's just because I exist in a space where I'm just used to being at the right place at the right time. Because that happens in this game quite a bit. That, oh, hey, look, there's that piece that's perfect for me to put this on there. And yes, it does happen quite a bit in this game. It's just I'm more forgiving with it as the spaces become limited.
I'm going to pose one final question to you on this.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an interesting aspect here. Recommend a game for people that would like Cascadia. I will recommend one for people that would like Calico.
If I was going to choose a game that I think people that enjoy Cascadia, I would choose not so much that your space expands, but your resources expands. It would be the L Project.
I've not gotten to try it yet.
You haven't? Oh, I've been a bad friend.
You
So obviously that is going to be probably one of our next, why it takes so long to play this. So the L Project is you start with a square and a little 1x2 rectangle, and you are building shapes from it. And each turn you have so many actions that you can do. You can either place a piece, you can take another space that you want to work off of, you can upgrade a tile, or you can call, I don't remember what the term is called, where you can put a piece on every single one of your puzzles that you're working. And once you put them in there, they're locked. Once you finish it, pieces come off, they go back into your storage and you score the points or whatever. But you also get more pieces. Typically, when you finish a puzzle, you get another puzzle piece and you build up from there. And the game goes until the piles are out. So then what would you suggest for Calico?
I would suggest Arion.
Okay.
Arion is one of the games in the Oniverse series.
Okay.
And it is crazy weird theme where you are building airships. And as you are building airships, you have 2 hangars that you're able to build in at any given time. And you need to build 6 airships. Each airship requires 2 different parts, and it requires a crew member. So it has to have 3 cards put in all together. And you can only save 2 cards at a time off to the side. So it is very much a, what am I going to use here? Where is my priority at the moment? Because each card that is available in the row for you to draft for your building is accessible via dice rolls, similar to the way Mindspace has it. If you don't get what you need, you can discard a card to re-roll a die.
Okay.
If you do not build all 6 of your airships by the time every parts pile runs out, you've lost the game.
Oh.
It's tight, it's quick, it's small, you can play it in a very small area, and it has that, I'm going to have very specific pattern matching that I need because one of the airships is just an AABB. Another one is an ABC, that type of thing. Interestingly, it has really great symbology on it where each pile of cards will tell you what parts are available and what crew member is available. You don't necessarily know what's going to come up because you have to flip a card over, but you at least know, okay, if I go here, I have a shot at getting what I need. Can I make it? It's really great. It's one that I think that if you like that specific pattern building, shared goal, shared resource that Calico has, Arion would be a strong recommendation.
Very nice.